Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday. I am A.J. Wagner. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Grew up in Beaver Falls, where my dad was the city councilman. I was one of 18 children. One mom, one dad, one at a time. And they taught me a lot. I mean, my parents and the kids. I'm number 3, so most of them are younger than me. I came to Dayton to go to law school at the University of Dayton many years ago, almost 40 years ago, 39 plus. And they wouldn't take me back in Pittsburgh, so I stayed here. I have loved it here ever since. I was married when I came here. I've been married over 40 years. We raised 2 children here. We lived in 4 different city neighborhoods in our time here. And I have been blessed to be able to serve as a teacher. I have been an author. I have been a judge. I've been the county auditor. I am an attorney. I own a business. I have counseled many folks in business. And so I bring to you what I call the 10 talents that I've been given by God. And I don't want to bury them. I want to make sure they're invested in this community so that when I'm done, hopefully some angel says, well done, good and faithful servant.
Good morning. It's great to be here back at Macedonia. I'm Dayton City Commissioner Nan Whaley. I've been your Dayton City Commissioner for the past 8 years, and it's been a true honor to serve this community. I live in the Five Oaks neighborhood with my husband Sam. We've been married around 6 years. It was the best decision I've made next to moving to Dayton. Originally from Indiana, I went to the University of Dayton. The university brought me here, but the city of Dayton really kept me here, and it's just been such a great honor. I'm running for mayor for the city because I believe in Dayton's future. I think we need a mayor that's full-time and focused around creating jobs. To that end, I've put together a roadmap for a new Dayton. It's around 11 pages. It's on my website. I don't have printouts of it, but you can definitely read it there. It's around the creation of jobs, working with our neighborhoods, and being an open and vibrant community. I think that those are the 3 pieces. It's been a pleasure to work with Macedonians particularly. You're an asset in this community, and really working on the housing issues around this community is an example of some of the work we need to do across the city, is working with churches and communities that have assets to work around, and I'm proud of that work that we've done together. I also think that one of the great things about the city is that it is open. It's a community that welcomes people with open arms. It's the reason why I need to get the chance to run for mayor, not being from here. AJ's not from here. I think that's something that's very special about this community, and it's something that will help us grow and thrive. So that's the reason why I'm running. I really believe that Dayton's future can be better than its past with the right leadership, that we have good, strong assets to work to create jobs, and I want the chance to work with the endorsed Democrat ticket of Joey Williams and Jeff Mims to make that happen. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to move into our question and answer phase, where each candidate will have no more than 2 minutes to answer each question. I've already sent them the questions ahead of time, except for the ones that we're getting today. So they have a pretty good idea of what we're going to be asking here, okay? So my first question that I want to ask is, where do you see Dayton in the next 5 years?
Thank you. One of the reasons when I decided to run was really putting together a jobs plan and working to make sure that we had a plan that we could move Dayton forward around our assets. Assets such as our manufacturing base, our water, Dayton International Airport, the health and education campuses in downtown Dayton are just a few. I believe it's really important that if we don't make things in Dayton, Dayton will not be able to grow and prosper, so that's why I really work hard in October is Manufacturing Month to make sure that we work to create advocacy and create jobs around manufacturing, and it's where our workforce sits, so it's very important. So I think if elected in the next 5 years, we have a great jobs plan that will allow us to really grow the community, work steadfastly on creation of jobs. If people have jobs, a lot of other things take care of themselves in our community. People are able to take care of their homes, they're able to take care of their kids and educate them, they're able to not worry about where's the money coming from. So that is really the key point. And as mayor, I think you can do a lot of work in the city and in the region to make that happen. And that's why I really decided to run for mayor.
Thank you. Let me look briefly at the last 5 years. 5 years ago, we had 9,000 more. Hello? I'm at the end of the sorry. Thank you. Last year we had 5 years ago we had 9,000 more jobs than we have today. 2 months ago we had 700 more jobs in this area, in the city, not the area, the city, than we do today. I think we have some choices to make if we want to look different over the next 5 years. If we want to look different over the next 5 years, we need a new plan and new leadership, because the old stuff isn't working. It's not happening. I didn't touch my swing. Thank you, sorry. So, one or two things is going to happen, and I am concerned about the next 5 years. I'd like to see, what I'd like to see and what okay, what I'd like to see, what is happening and what I'd like to see, it might be two different things. One thing we have to concern ourselves with tremendously is what's going to happen next year with a tax renewal that's going to be on the ballot. If we don't renew that tax, then the city is in desperate trouble. That tax will raise $20 to $25 million for our city every year. In the past, we've allowed senior citizens to have a discount on their property taxes in exchange for voting for that tax. The city commission, I believe unwisely, took that back from the senior citizens, even though it was promised to them after the last renewal. That means that next year we won't have the support of the senior citizens for that tax renewal. There is no other reason for them to support it. They aren't taxed on their income if it's pension or Social Security. We also have fewer employees from the city of Dayton living here in the city because we don't have residency anymore. That means that that tax levy is going to be very hard to pass. We happen to be still in a recovery mode. As you can tell from the figures I just said, we're not recovering very well. So it's hard for people to vote for a tax. Our city's going to look very different if we don't pass that tax. Take $20 to $25 million out of our city's budget and we're in big trouble. That's got to be our number one priority going into next year. Now, if we pass the renewal, if it does get passed, what I hope to see of Dayton in the next 5 years is a growing economy where we've turned the job ship around, where we're filling spaces downtown, where we're building businesses in our neighborhood corridors, such as Salem Avenue, Main Street, Gettysburg, where we're allowing not just immigrants to come in and say, welcome Dayton to our immigrants, but we're saying welcome Dayton to all of our citizens.
Yes. Yes.
And we're inviting them all to be part of this. I see a Dayton that has not just growth going on, but I see a Dayton that has a real awakening in terms of our belief in God and in our systems, that they begin to work again in a non-political way, in a way that really says we're here for everybody, not just this group or that group. In 5 years, we won't be turned around completely. We've got a long way to go. To go from losing 9,000 jobs to think we've turned around in 5 years is going to be tough. But in 5 years, I see us moving and moving ahead and getting in that right direction, provided we can get that levy passed or that tax renewal passed, which we lost momentum on when they took the $50 away from our seniors and our disabled people.
All right, so the next question is, why do you think you are the best candidate?
Thank you. I'm really betting on Dayton's future, and that's why I think I'm the best candidate. I have 8 years of experience of working with the City Commission. All commissioners have endorsed me and think I am the best candidate for this job. I also have follow-through. When I start a job, I finish it, just like I have on the commission.
And I also have the passion and energy to really get this community going. I know we need a full-time mayor. I know we need a mayor that's focused on job creation. I'm proud of the work that I've done with this church even in particular to really work with housing and its efforts around and work with partnerships. I think that partnership and passion is what this city needs. And we need a mayor that's thinking about the future instead of talking about the past. And that's what I'm betting on Dayton's future. And that's why I think I'd be the best candidate for mayor.
Part of the reason I think that I'd be the best candidate is because of the past. We need new leadership. We have to look at the past and evaluate what's happened so far. I bring to you not just 20 years as an elected official. I bring to you the experience of being a teacher and understanding education and understanding what's happening to our children, understanding the school-to-prison pipeline and what has to end. I've written a book that was part of the character education program of Allen Classical Academy, where we took a school, and I was part of this, where we took a school that was suspending 150 kids a year, 750 times, and we got it down to 10 suspensions a year. 10 suspensions a year. That's my teaching experience. I have experience as Montgomery County Auditor, Chief Financial Officer. I understand finances, that's why I worry about finances. I understand the finances and what has to happen. I also worked as a judge in this community, and I understand what is happening in terms of the new Jim Crow. I understand the people I saw before me, the young men and women that I saw before me, either did not have an education, did not have God, or did not have a job. Those three things almost guaranteed nobody stood before me. And we have to get those three things back. I understand that from my lived experience in the courts. I understand from running a business what businesses want. I understand from counseling businesses what businesses need in order to be successful in this community. I've shepherded many businesses here, and I hope to shepherd many more as mayor.
What plans do you have to bring jobs to Dayton?
So as I mentioned before, I have a jobs plan on the roadmap for a new Dayton. And I also, when I made this plan, I made sure that the commissioners bought into it and made sure that they are in support of the effort. Because it's really important to have a team working forward to creating jobs. So to that effort, we talk about really working with our assets. And let me just give you an example. Underneath us is one of the best resources this community has with its water. It's a natural, rechargeable water that is safe and clean that we drink of out of every day. It's also a great opportunity to create businesses and bring businesses to the Dayton area. We did this back actually in the 80s with Cargill up on Needmore Road. They make a lot of corn syrup. It's one of the reasons why I weigh a little more than I should. But that was the reason why, was they needed a lot of water to make that product. There are other products like soft drink companies and software companies and microchip companies that need water, and a lot of it. A lot of these companies are actually in Arizona, places that do not have a water asset. So we will need to work to try to bring those companies here to Dayton because we have this great asset. Another thing that we have is our manufacturing base, and specifically in West Dayton, we have a lot of opportunity to grow that manufacturing in a lot of these sites. You know, the city, before any other state or federal help came, we started cleaning up these sites because we knew they were our future. And so making sure that we use manufacturing and recognize that it's advanced manufacturing, that it's a different, cleaner kind of manufacturing than we used to have. It's not your father's factory, not my father's factory today, that we could really create jobs around that. To that end, I started a manufacturing task force working with Sinclair Community College, the Dayton Development Coalition, Dayton Regional Manufacturing Association, so we could really work on our workforce and advocating both inside the region about manufacturing and outside the region to bring jobs here. I think that's what's key for jobs, is you have to be very focused, have a champion for it, and we haven't really had that champion in the past 4 years. So making sure that we are able to position ourselves to grow our jobs and grow our community. We've had great success already this year. CareSource, Select Tool, Norwood Medical, Malt Products, all of these places are growing jobs as we speak, and making sure that we have relationships with them to continue to grow those jobs in the city of Dayton and make our lives easier for our families and our community is really what I would be singularly focused. But I know I need a team. I know I can't do that alone. That was why it's so important that when I wrote the plan, I got the input and feedback from the fellow commissioners, and that they support that effort too is very important.
Works? Okay, thanks. That's good, then I don't have to yell. We do need jobs, and that's an important problem that we have to face. As what I've said before, in April, we had a company that was looking at a place over on Call Street. They wanted to bring 250 jobs here. It was a great, it was a manufacturing facility. We wanted to get it here. And by June, they'd given up and they left. And I said, never mind. It's very difficult to work with data. That's one of the problems and one of the reasons we can't attract jobs. I want to create a position high up in Dayton that is an economic development specialist who comes from business, not from bureaucracy, who understands business, a person who talks the language of business, who knows what businesses want and need. That's the kind of person we need in charge of our economic development. I want that person to also be a specialist in customer service, providing good customer service to businesses so that they know that when they come to Dayton that they're going to be treated well and fairly, not always get what they want, but be treated fairly and get respect from the folks who they deal with high up in the city hall. They're not getting that now. We need that. I would like to see us also take advantage of the aquifer, but not just the aquifer and bringing businesses in, but I'd like to also see us take advantage of our farm communities. We're a good food production area, and we can do a lot of food production and distribution. Distribution is key to our area. Because of 70 and 75 being right here, because of our 90-minute market, what we call the 90-minute market, and our stretch of 600 miles, actually, you could reach 55% of America's population, the United States population. We are an excellent site for distribution centers. The county has just completed a study with the Dayton Development Coalition called the St. Ange study. And that study shows exactly what we need to do to increase jobs and development in the area. And there are some things we need to do in that area. There's 60 specific steps. There's also a study called the Matrix study, which the city did 4 years ago. And that study shows us exactly how we can improve our interface with businesses, how we can work with them better, how we can do things better. They made about 25 solid recommendations about what we could do. So far, they've implemented about 4 or 5 of those recommendations. We still have about 20 sitting on the table after 4 years. We need to get that done. We need to make that happen if we think we're going to bring any jobs here. We have to make sure that we grow existing companies. We have to pay attention to the Air Force Base and our technical cluster. You know, we are in the top 10 of 100 cities around the country. We are in the top 10 for STEM jobs, that is science jobs, technical jobs, engineering. That's because of the base and because of our hospitals. We need to take advantage of that, do biomedical engineering, do other engineering work and attract companies that are looking for those kinds of technical skills, because we have them here in Dayton. We need to improve our pool of temporary jobs, because companies are looking for a lot of temporary folks, but we have to see that they can get paid better as well. Those are some of the things I've got my plan to try and make Dayton move forward in the next couple of years through jobs.
What are your top 3 strategies for reducing crime in the city of Dayton? How will you engage Black community leaders in the discussion and process, specifically church leaders?
I'm really proud of the work that we've done already under Commissioner Williams' leadership with the Citizens Initiative to Reduce Gun Violence. That effort, I think, has made a big difference in the community, talking to police officers and really working together to reduce crime. Commissioner Williams says this a lot, I think he's right, I'm going to steal this line, is that it's also an economic development engine as well. If we don't have low crime in areas, we won't get the development and investment we need in the community. So this effort that he has led has been important, and also it helps with the quality of life for our citizens living in our neighborhoods. To that end, there's organizations coming together with pastors and churches to really work together in this effort, and really having an open dialogue and an open relationship. Last Wednesday, they came to the commission meeting, and really we talked about how much work it takes. It takes work to create the relationship and to continue to make sure that there's an open dialogue. And I said it was very similar to a marriage, right? So if you don't work at your marriage and you don't talk to your spouse, then you don't have that opportunity to really create the relationship. And that's what we're doing with police and citizens in the city. We still have a ways to go, but I think we're on the right path because we're having that open conversation. The Human Relations Council has done a Speak, Be Heard, Be Considered effort that happened last year. We're going to do that again this year, really trying to get to our young people as well so we can create that dialogue. But it's called community policing and public safety because the public must be involved. And so I think we have to be very serious, very conscious of that effort. I'm proud of the resources we put behind that. Examples just this summer on the block parties, really getting into the community with police officers and firefighters, making sure that we have those discussions in the community is important. So I'm really proud to support Commissioner Williams' leadership in that. I think he's done a great job, and I would continue to support that effort as mayor.
Thank you. I'll continue to support that effort too. That's a good effort. This is not in any particular order. I would go with number one though, that we need a police department that looks more like the city. And we need a police department that actually has a good percentage of African Americans in the police department. I think that is a huge help in terms of our children being able to relate to our police officers, as well as our police officers having relationships in the community and knowing what's going on. There's a big difference, I think. One of the things when I was at Judges, I didn't see people standing in front of me that were from Oakwood or Vandalia or from Centerville. We tend to enforce all of our drug laws in the city of Dayton. And I think that would change if we had a police force that looked more like our city. I think that would help tremendously. We have to do that because if we don't, we end up charging too many individuals that don't have serious infractions, and we turn them into felons, and it has an exacerbating effect. So one thing is that. Two is we have to deal with our children in a different way. This whole school pipeline notion is real. We have children who are committing minor infractions in schools and being suspended from schools. Once you get suspended once, you get suspended again, almost guaranteed. Because a child that finds itself out of school will find itself falling behind. That child will begin to fall behind, and as that child falls behind, and then the next suspension comes because of whatever, and then the next suspension. Sooner or later, you have a situation where that child is a juvenile court, and that child is in the system. We have to work with our children from cradle to grave to make sure that they're educated and that they understand what needs to be done. But we also have to work with the teachers. When I did that program at Allen Classical Academy, the principal told me the statistics and then turned around and I said, how do you change the kids? And he said, kids don't change. We change. We change. And we have to change the way we approach our kids. Another thing that we really, really have to do, I think, in order to address the crime situation is to get our churches the assistance they need to be involved. I tend to have at least a monthly prayer breakfast with our ministers to talk, not to me, but to talk to each other, to talk about the programs that are successful, that are working in What you're doing here, what the Macedonia Urban Development Corporation is doing, is really an excellent way to help this whole community. And that's a story that other churches and pastors need to hear as well. What some churches have done is they've gone into neighborhoods and they've set the tone and said, these are not our values. Carrying guns and shooting people are not values. That is not what we do. We carry the Lord, and that contains our values. That's what we have to pick up. Put down the guns, pick up the Lord. And ministers can tell that story better than anyone. And we have to have them in our community set that example. So I really want to activate the churches in that way to make sure that they're in the communities. One pastor was telling me, he came from a different city before, and he was telling me his church actually shut down crack houses by going up to the door, knocking on the door, asking if they could help them. When they said no, they said, well, we'll just stand out here and we'll pray for you. And they stood on the sidewalk and they prayed for hours. They kind of dried up the business. That made them go away. So it's those kinds of faith actions, courageous actions, that are going to help us get through crime.
This is a question from the floor. What will you do as mayor to prevent racial profiling in the Dayton Police Department?
This is an issue that we constantly work on in the city, and definitely the citizens initiative that we're working on to make sure that is stopped. One of the reasons actually that Welcome Dayton even began was because we found that there was Hispanic profiling happening and among the sheriff's department and the police department. And so that's how Welcome Dayton really sprung into effect, is how can we be an open community and say that we're not going to tolerate these kind of profiling going on in our community, and it's made a difference. I think the other thing is key is to have an open dialogue, like I mentioned before. Yeah, I think it's important, we are working with the Obama administration as well to make sure that our police officers do look like the community. It's something that we've talked for 25 years. We've reached an agreement with the consent decree with the Obama administration to make that happen. We are seeing better results in this latest test of that happening with the test. We've also worked on recruitment, right? So we've made sure that we're recruiting folks and trying to get into the community just for them to take the test and ask why they don't want to be a police officer or a firefighter. Because we don't have enough folks taking the test, we're not going to get people that look like the community being our police officers. And so I think that's very important. And so it takes work, and it takes legitimate patience to work with partners. I'm really proud of the work that we've done with the Justice Department to make this happen, and we're starting to see results in this latest test.
We've got to, again, well, first of all, I would tell you, the city was sued for discrimination by the Justice Department. That's how they got to work with them. It is my goal to say, let's get rid of the test. The test just doesn't do any good, and that will help us integrate the department tremendously. And that will help approach the program tremendously. As I said earlier, I didn't see kids from the suburbs in front of me. We have to change an attitude about some of our lower level crimes. We have to change an attitude that they are lower level crimes. We have criminalized so many things, so that if you have a piece of crack that's all about that big, actually a trace amount, you'll get a felony record that will follow you for the rest of your life. And since we only enforce those kind of laws in the city, racial profiling becomes very tremendously important, because without racial profiling, we wouldn't have so many felons. It's a hugely important thing. I think we need to not just, by the way, the drugs are in those suburbs just as much as they're That's not just something that's happening here. It's just the way we treat the whole thing. So when I talk about racial profiling, I want to extend that not just to stop and frisk, not just to pulling people over in their cars, but I want to extend it to arresting people and charging them with crimes that are very minor and that get them life sentences as well.
What will be done to extinguish gang and drug activity in Dayton?
We've done something with CERT, and that's been helpful. One of the other things that would be helpful is if, again, as I talk about these minor drug possession crimes, not distribution, not selling, but minor drug possession crimes for personal use, and we take those folks and we give them felony records. One thing would be to do is to give them misdemeanors instead of felonies. One of the problems with gangs is that they come out of the prison culture. Gangs come to the street. If we can avoid sending people to prison, we avoid a lot of gang formation and a lot of gang thought. So we need to stop sending so many people to prison. That would make a huge difference. Another thing that we need to do is to continue on with the CERT program. That's been helpful. We deal directly with kids. I'm on the board of the ADA project. We're trying hard to identify gangs and figure out how we keep them out of harm's way. I would like to also work directly with gang communities, as an example, in California and LA, where there are people who actually go in and work directly with gangs to find them jobs, to find them purpose, to find them meaning in their life, so that it goes beyond what they think is purposeful in terms of their gang behavior.
A lot of the things that AJ mentioned is not in the purview of being mayor of Dayton. We can't change the laws that are in the state. We can actually send letters and talk to our state representatives, which the commission has done over the past years. But the issue is really with the state legislature and the state making rules based on these efforts. And we definitely do try to constantly talk to the state legislature, and definitely next year, when those elections are up, we would encourage those conversations to continue to go. We've sent resolutions as a commission and continue to have conversations to try to say this isn't making sense the way we have the system in place. But we also need to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe, and the people living in those neighborhoods don't need to have that drug culture around. And we have to say it's not acceptable in the city of Dayton. So there's a balance here, because it's important that people are able to age in place in their neighborhood, that they're able to feel safe when they're walking the streets. Those are important assets that we have to have in our community, and I will continue to fight for that. We have done some tremendous work. We have a lot more work to do to reduce gun violence. It's the big issue. You notice it's about gun violence as the issue in our community, because we want people to feel safe in their community. We want people to be able to walk around. But we also have, in that effort, with the street soldiers and others, giving people opportunities to change their life if they choose. Now, it's not going to be easy. It's not easy. We have people that don't have any issues, don't have any problems still not being able to get jobs. So if we're able to create jobs and create jobs across the board, it will help everyone. But we have to give those opportunities as well. And we've seen that effort with the street soldiers really getting into the community, really talking to folks and saying, you don't have to choose this lifestyle. But when they choose the lifestyle and they wreck a neighborhood, that's where we have to take action as a city.
All right, this is a question from the floor. How would you as a mayor help with re-entry of ex-felons? What would you say to employers about hiring ex-felons?
First of all, we got to get rid of the felony box and do that any way we can. The second thing is I have to disagree that we can't pass local laws that are different than the state laws. We have local laws for DUI. We have local laws for speeding, dare I say, traffic cameras. We have local laws that are different than the states, and we enforce those laws locally. And we can charge them to the local law, or we can charge them to the state law. That's one of the things that's going to give us a chance. Because if we create local laws that allow us to arrest on a misdemeanor level rather than a felony level for certain crimes that are minor, that we have to all agree are minor, then we don't end up with those folks having felonies at the end of the day. Those folks end up going through misdemeanor probation maybe. Maybe they still go to programs, they still have some jail time over their head, but they won't go to prison, and they won't have a felony at the end of the day. And that's a huge difference in their lives. The second thing is, as I said, I want to meet with ministers at the beginning of every month, and I want to energize a movement not just in Dayton, but amongst all the metropolitan areas. And we're going to need some help from both sides of the aisle. To go to Columbus and to attack this notion of felonies that last for life. Every time somebody pleads guilty to a felony, whether they get probation, and whether they get asylum, or whatever, they end up with a life sentence. There are 400 different, what we call collateral sanctions that are applied to somebody who's got a felony. So that for the rest of their lives, they can't get a license, they can't get a job, they can't get housing, they can't get some schooling, they can't get scholarships, they can't get food stamps. They can't get a lot of things the rest of us get. That's what leads them back to getting the gangs. And what we have to do to prevent that is to convince our state representatives, our state legislature, and the public at large that the Lord said, forgive us our trespasses. We don't forgive. We put things on people for life. And that is what's causing a major problem in our criminal situation. Because these folks can't get jobs, they turn back to crime. Because they can't get jobs, they can't support their babies. Because they can't get jobs, their baby's mom does not want to marry them. They got one mom to feed, they don't get two. If we're going to solve our local problems, our family problems, our jobs problems, we also need to solve the felony problem. And we need to convince our state legislatures of the value of that. And we can pass local laws that will help with that as well.
As a commission, and with the work of effort with LEAD, I think this church is part of the LEAD effort, we passed a fair hiring policy last year in the city of Dayton, saying that if the state legislature, which does make a lot of rules that I would like to be changed and advocate on change, but if the state legislature allows a job to have a former felon, ex-felon in that job, the city would allow that. And we worked in partnership with LEAD to make that effort. We came to the meeting, I think, last year to make those changes. And it's those kind of partnerships with the community that we work to really move this conversation forward. Again, though, I think safety in the community and making sure that our neighborhoods stay safe and that we don't tolerate these kind of actions in our community and talk to our community together is going to be key in this effort.
What are your plans for the vacant houses in Dayton?
There are a couple of things I think we can do in terms of vacant housing. First of all, we have to recognize the problem is when you lose 9,000 jobs in 5 years, you lose population because people go elsewhere for jobs. When you lose population, we create more vacant housing. We don't have a plan, I don't think, that can keep up with the number of vacant houses that we're creating, let alone the ones that we already have. And so this is a huge problem that has to be addressed in other ways besides just tearing them down. We have got to tear down some of them. They're dilapidated to the point where they've got to go. There's no question about it. And then we have to have ideas and processes in place for what to do with that property once those properties are gone. Because that property doesn't need to be a weed-strewn, litter-strewn car place or something either. But you know, we need to do other things as well. One is we need to increase the unlimited money into rehabilitation houses as well. We need to rehabilitate houses where we can and invite that kind of rehabilitation with certain tax credits and with certain incentives that will allow us to get investment back into the community and create jobs. We also need to begin marketing our city better. We have some wonderful neighborhoods and some wonderful places that are great starter homes and great places for people to come in and invest. And we need to make sure that people understand that this is a good place to raise your family and your kids. And we can market it in a way, I think, that brings people back to the city, not just downtown, but to the neighborhoods, and begin to reoccupy the houses that have been abandoned. And we have to do something along that line as well.
This past Wednesday, we had a ribbon cutting for actually a house in the Westwood neighborhood on rehab. So we have been trying to do some rehabs where the property makes sense to be able to do that. When I started as city commissioner, we were tearing down around 50 properties a year. This year we'll exceed 500. Have really worked to make sure that we've gotten state and federal money to make that happen. I'm proud of that leadership that I've provided there. It is a change, this is an issue that's been happening for the past 20 years, and we only started dealing with it really in the past 8. And it's going to take time and effort. Now, to be honest, the happiest I am is when I drive 30 Gettysburg and see the housing unit across the street down. I think it looks a lot better than what it did before. And I'm proud to work with your church to make that happen. And we can continue to create these opportunities where we have assets like Macedonia, like the Greater Dayton Rec Center, Roosevelt Commons, and create new housing around that, but because we have an asset. And we do have a strategy. It's called the Green and Gold Strategy. It's an opportunity where people that live in a house can take the property next door to it and increase their garden, increase their lot size. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people that are interested in that effort, and it's been a success. This is a problem that's not going to be solved overnight. And so, when I started working on it, people said, you're eating an elephant. You got to eat an elephant one bite at a time. It's something that we have been dealing with because we were just boarding them up for years. I live in a Five Oaks neighborhood. I'm surrounded by vacants. I know what it's like to have a vacant behind you and know how you feel with safety. That house is better off if it's down. I feel safer. I can see what's going on. I don't have people squatting, doing heroin in the back of that house. That's happened to me. So I recognize how important this issue is when it comes to making our neighborhoods safe. And that's really what it's about. We've also recognized that when we take a house down, the housing property and housing values around it are stabilized. Because that house that is empty and dilapidated and vacant hurts your value sitting next to it. And you're the one that's hurt by having to look at it every day, looking at it and having to mow that grass, which so many of our neighbors do, and I appreciate. We do it too. This is going to be a long-term effort, but we have opportunities. We also are working on rehab. Now, if you live in on a house in the city of Dayton, that the value isn't that strong. So any money you put in that, you're really doing it because you want a nicer kitchen or you want to be able to get your bathroom nicer, but it's not thinking you're going to get the money back out, right? So we have to stabilize these values so that we are able to see a market come back. And that's what we're doing. I know that this is a hard issue. I'm proud of the effort we've done to take a long-term look at this as a commission. Some other commissions have not done that. And we believe that long-term, the city will be better off with housing that is strong. Now, we are putting new housing in. Right here and over by Roosevelt, we are putting new housing in as well. But we got to take the 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, lead-based filled houses and take them offline. We've got to take these apartment complexes like the one across the street offline. So I appreciate this church's support in that effort.
This is a question from the floor. We are taxing the homeowners, so the homeowners that have decided to stay are being stretched to the limit. What happens to the homeowners that decided to stay? Are there any tax breaks for them?
There was up until last year, if you were a senior, and then the city took it back. There are no tax breaks, particularly for a homeowner. I thought that the one that was devised that allowed senior homeowners to have a tax break was a good idea, and it's something that I would reinstate if I were to become mayor. But right now, as it stands, no, there are no particular tax breaks for homeowners. Unless you can qualify for things like historic tax credits when you do renovation, which is difficult to do, but it's worth trying if you have an older home, or if you qualify for some of the other national tax credits. I would like to see more tax increment financing districts that will allow not necessarily a tax break, but at least allow the tax to be reinvested in the local community. Some of the tax to be reinvested in the local community to build the infrastructure and to build the community up. But I don't know of any other tax breaks that we have for homeowners other than that $50 which they took away.
In 2011, when Governor Kasich in the state legislature cut the local government fund $9 million, we had really tough choices in our community. The city manager put forward what he called a partition report. There were 39 actions on it. One was, for example, the privatization of ambulance service to cut the $9 million. And the commission had tough decisions to make. We call that governing. It's tough, and it's definitely difficult during the height of a recession. Those decisions were in public, in front. There were daily news stories about them, efforts to bring forward what is best. And we heard from citizens that they wanted to protect their police services, their fire services, their garbage, and they wanted to protect and make sure that when they have a heart attack, someone that's qualified is there to come see them. So the $50 a year tax credit was taken away in 2011. It was a tough decision for all of us, but we knew that that's what citizens wanted. They wanted to make sure their services were protected when they had given a lot of bad choices. Since then, we've not heard anything from citizens about it, only from campaigns. And I think that shows that we've made the right decision, although it's tough for $50 a year. Now, there is still a homestead tax credit that the state offers. If you're 60 or over, you can get that with the state. That is still an offer. The city does not work on property tax. You do not have a very small amount of it, which is inside milk, comes to the city. Most of it is the schools and the human service levy. St. Clair Community College, Five Rivers Metro Parks is where that property tax property taxes go. And I know it's hard because I hear about it, and I get my tax bill too, and we have to find that balance. But that's the tough decisions that you do while governing when you have bad choices that come to the ground, and at the end, Dayton has to answer. And so those are the tough decisions we make. It's called governing and leadership that we try to provide. Thanks.
This is from the floor. What is the status of the priority boards?
We recognize that we need to really look at how we work with citizen participation. And the status is, got water on me, excuse me. The status is that we are really discussing with folks in neighborhoods about how we can provide services to neighborhoods as well as possible. Recognizing that when the priority boards were in place in 1972, they were mostly federally funded, and most of that federal funding is now gone during model cities. And we really need to make sure, in 1972 we had a population of 250,000 people, and now we're at 140,000. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can be flatter and really have stronger communications between the neighborhoods and City Hall. Because 1972, you have to think about it, people didn't have cell phones, they didn't have ways to communicate, they'd go to the priority board office to use a typewriter, the carbon, there was not even Xerox copy machines at that time. So we really have to use all the tools we have now because we have less money to provide citizen participation and we have less people. So there's opportunities for us to have a flatter organization that allows for more conversation to come up with less bureaucracy. And I think that's my position on it. I think that the neighborhoods and the groups that come together to form alliances to bring our community together have a lot of people behind them, and frankly, more people are involved in that than in the priority boards, and so we should put our staff where the people are, and that's what I'm advocating.
The latest that I've seen anyway, replacing the priority boards, was a proposal that allows neighborhood leaders to come together once every 3 months and meet with city staff. That means about 50, 60 people in the room to meet with city staff. That may have been amended, I don't.
Yes, I think as I said last week, it has been. Yeah.
Have you shown that anybody?
No, but you mentioned it last week.
Okay, so I haven't seen it, nobody else has seen it. But it has been amended somewhere, I don't know how. But the proposal was that 50 or 60 people be gathered in a room and talk to city leaders once every 3 months. That's not going to work either. What we have to have really is solid communication between neighborhoods and the elected leaders. And that's not happening. And what I'm proposing really is that I'm going to have a weekly meeting with neighborhood leaders. That means it'll be like an Optimist Club or Kiwanis Club or one of those service clubs where we sit down and we break bread somewhere and we actually talk about, again, not just to me or not me talking to them, talking to each other about what's going on in neighborhoods and how we can improve neighborhoods and how we can do things better throughout the city. And I want to be a part of that conversation. Right now, neighborhood, even under the priority board process, which I do not want to see diminished, but right now, even under the priority board process, the priority board report to the Department of Planning and Development. They don't even report to the city manager or to the elected officials. I want this connection to be directly to the elected officials, from the neighborhoods to the elected officials. I think that's an important element if you're going to have neighborhood participation, that people be allowed to talk to their elected officials.
How are you going to address the lack of business on the west side of Dayton?
When you go to East Dayton and say, what are you going to do about addressing the lack of business on the east side of Dayton? We have an issue across the city with retail and having places to shop across the city. It's a city-wide problem. Really, we've worked this past month. We have released with in coordination with the West Dayton Development Fund, a West Dayton Development Plan to really talk about how we can work to use our assets in our community. And that's, with a high population loss, we have a big effort that we have to work on. We have to recognize that we have to have regional nodes for retail business. Like I mentioned before, I go to the Kroger's on Siebenthaler. Honestly, my husband goes to the Kroger's on Siebenthaler. I don't think too much grocery shopping, but it bothers me that I can't even buy my groceries in the city of Dayton, and I'm sure it bothers many of you as well. We are constantly looking for ways we can bring the community together to provide retail for the whole city, because we're really seeing that loss of retail. And as I think as we move forward and people do more and more internet shopping, this is going to become a bigger issue across the county, because people are getting their items in different ways, in different places, and they're willing to drive further and further away to get those items. So by creating a walkable community, a community that has sidewalks and the ability to get around that is proven to bring retail in, I think that's the work we need to do. And then as far as businesses that really create income tax, I talked earlier about our manufacturing opportunities we have with the 35, specifically in the western quarter, 35 West and 75, to really make sure that we have manufacturing. We have those sites, we're actively marketing them, and I feel very strong that that's really important for us, because we'll be able to create jobs as well. People have money, people open stores, that's how the economy works, so thanks.
I think it's important that we create some employment opportunities within our quarters. But one of the biggest problems with creating any jobs, creating any capital of any kind is capital. That is the money to borrow so that folks can open businesses or expand their businesses. And we have to create a financial base so that there is money to borrow. We have to work with the banks and the community redevelopment funds to create that. The West State Development Fund is going to be important in that. And so is, I dare say, this opportunity, I think, that's coming upon us. When PNC left here a few weeks ago, it did create an uproar, rightfully so. We can't have communities without banks because of this problem of capital funding. I'm hoping and I'm hopeful that what we can do to replace that, by the way, there's a meeting here Monday with the folks from the Control of Currency here in Macedonia, and that's going to be an important meeting. But what I'd like to see happen is that all the folks who withdraw money from PNC as a result of that have an opportunity to put their money back into a local credit union. That the local credit union opens a branch here. That the churches get together, put all their investments into a local credit union. That we create a place that has the capital, that has the money to create the loans that West Dayton needs so that they can build their businesses again. One of the hardest things about building a business, any business, or expanding a business is simply getting the capital, getting the loan to allow you to do that. If we invest our money collectively here, then we will get the loans here, and we'll be able to open the businesses. We'll still have to work with the banks and West State Development Fund, but we have to do something like that as well.
How will each candidate contribute to the continued growth of downtown Dayton?
In the jobs plan, I talk about the importance of supporting the greater downtown plan. When the downtown plan was put together around 3 years ago, over 200 people came together, worked in committees to really work to make sure that we have a plan that's being actuated. And we're seeing good results. You know, we're seeing a lot a high housing occupancy rate there, and seeing investment coming together. So that work of the greater downtown plan and people coming together and working on that plan, I support that effort. I think if something is going well and you're seeing investment and there's a leader with it, with Dr. Mike Urban, you support that effort and move forward. So I would support the greater downtown plan.
I think the greater downtown plan is a good start, but we have some serious issues downtown. We have over 1.5 million feet of vacant office space downtown. Downtown used to be a place where you could go down to during the day and it would be bustling. And it just isn't that way anymore. If I leave my office is 4th and Main. If I leave there after 6 o'clock, I really don't even have to look both ways across the street. It's just not very many people there. We're doing the right things, I think, in terms of trying to build up the infrastructure. Our downtown looks great compared to a lot of downtowns. We've got some nice buildings, we've got nice infrastructure, we've got some bike lanes, we've got the river, good amenities in our town. And the buildings are really becoming inexpensive. I mean, buildings that 5 years ago were sold for as much as 10 times as much money, are going for very little money now. The problem is we're still not filling them. We're still losing more businesses than we're gaining. And the residential thing is good, but we have to start filling up with businesses as well, and we won't have the tax base to support the residential part of the city. So we've got to market. We have to put together a good, solid marketing plan that gets our city out there. We have one of the best commute times in the whole country. We have one of the least expensive cost of living in the whole country. We have tremendous arts. We have sports. We're less than an hour away from major league sports. We have some of the best, this is one of the best quality of life places where you can live and raise a family. And yet we're not marketing it sufficiently to fill up our spaces downtown. And we have to do that or we're just going to lose this battle eventually.
Dayton schools recently received a failing grade. What are your plans in reference to improving our schools?
I have basically a 4-step, if you will, plan to try and improve the schools and our situation in the schools. We start with it that when a child is 3 years old, their vocabulary, if they're raised in poverty, their vocabulary will be about 500 words. If they're in a middle-class family, their vocabulary will be about 1,500 or more words. So by the time they're 3 years old, they're already behind. Almost 80% of the kids in Dayton public schools live in poverty. And it's a huge burden, not just because they've come to school falling already behind when they get to 1st grade or kindergarten, but because they have a hard time catching up. And the fact that they live in poverty doesn't help. It exacerbates the condition because they often come to school hungry, tired, angry, frustrated. The condition is difficult. So the first thing we have to do, I think, is get to those kids before they're born. That is, get to their parents and help those parents understand that they need to learn how to talk to their kids, to build their vocabulary. They need to read with their kids. They need to work with their kids. They need to take them outside and point to things and say, what's this, this, and this. They need to take them through the neighborhoods. They need to be a big part of their kids' lives. That will help those kids develop that vocabulary and those thinking skills so that they're not so far behind when they reach 3 years old. Then we need to get them into preschools. The county, and I worked on a program with the county called Wagner and Nan Futures and MCO Futures, and what we've come up with is a program that for every child who's under 200% of the poverty level will get to preschool. With the county's help, we can get every child who's in poverty in preschool, and that's going to help a lot. When kids get into school, I'm on the executive board of the Big Brothers Big Sisters Association, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Greater Miami Valley. And we mentor. Mentoring is hugely important to do some of that in this church. But we have to mentor kids. Kids who are mentored are much less likely to be in trouble. They're much less likely to do illegal activities. They're much more likely to go to school. They're much more likely to graduate. They're much more likely to succeed. So mentoring becomes huge, especially for kids who don't have a stable adult in their life. Then once they get through school, what I'm hoping for is to, between private and public funds, collect enough money so that every child who graduates from high school gets the opportunity to go to Sinclair tuition free. Now, there'll be some restrictions and some things behind that. But to get a child into Sinclair, give them an opportunity to get a 2-year college degree or certificate, if they would, so that they're trained for today's jobs. We need to have people trained for the technical jobs that are available today, and that means getting them into college to get a certificate or to get at least a 2-year degree. And then I'll work, if we can get that far, then I'll work toward trying to find 4-year degrees, but we have to start with that.
This is an effort where I think that the mayor can provide some real leadership. Because while DPS, Dayton Public Schools, has one out of 3 kids that live in the city of Dayton don't even go to Dayton Public Schools these days. They go to parochial or charter or homeschool. So we as a community have to come together and recognize that this is our future workforce. This is where, when we look at other cities, they decide where they're going to be based on the intellectual capital of that community. And we have to recognize that our kids need to have opportunities in the summer so they don't have the summer slide. And things that happen after school and out of school have big impacts on their education. We can't just put it all on the backs of Dayton Public Schools and say, why aren't these teachers doing what needs to be done in these schools? Because there's a responsibility of the community to make sure that these kids are educated. And I think that that's really important. We have to have a mindset change as a community about that. And that's where the mayor can really lead that effort and lead that conversation, because it can't be done alone. It takes a lot of work to make sure that a child is able to read at 3rd grade, ready for 9th grade, ready for high school, and then has to be college or career ready when they get out of high school if they want to have a good job these days. So that's the work I think that the mayor can really create a partnership and create the community dialogue that needs to happen. Now, a lot of folks will say, well, it's the parent's fault. Why is the parent doing this? And that's true. You can get some frustration about a parent not taking care of their child. But when the parent doesn't take care of the child, and the child gets in trouble and moves out, it becomes a problem with the community and the state. So we need to get involved earlier and really opportunities in the summer months and after-school programs, and really start working with the community as a dialogue about what we're going to do with kids in our community to make sure that they're college ready or ready for the military or ready for a job when they graduate high school. It is too important, and we've been waiting too long to make it happen. This past summer, the City Commission supported an effort to really make sure, in partnership with Dayton Public Schools, where the Dayton Public Schools in the morning time would do reading and efforts for kids that were not going to pass the 3rd grade reading guarantee, to work and really work with them to make sure that they work on reading efforts, and we provided the recreation in the afternoon, because we knew that our parents weren't going to be able to drop their kids off at like 9 to 11:30 in the morning. We needed full day operations for those efforts. And so we did that first work this summer, really trying to make sure what can we do more in the summertime, what can we do more after school, and that is going to take a partnership of the whole community, and something I'm really excited about being a part of as elected mayor.
That's the end of our question and answer period. Let's give the candidates a round. I would like to thank you both for coming on behalf of MCDC. I would like to also take this time to go ahead and give a brief chance to Commissioner Joy Williams and candidates for Commission Jeffrey Mims and David Esrati to come up and address the crowd.
I'm sorry to see you there.
say hello. I understand this is really for the mayor's candidate, but it's always nice to be here. It's one of my favorite churches. I'm a member of Wagner and Nan Church. Sometimes the folks at Wagner want to know if I really remember by coming here too often. But I do enjoy your church, and I'm glad to be here. I hope you enjoyed the candidate forum, and I hope you're also paying attention to the commission race. This is a very important commission race. As you know, there's going to be at least one new member of the commission, and I do think it's important to have some level of consistency. So I want to make sure that you guys understand I've been here for some time, and been working on a lot of initiatives that are very important to this community, whether it be things around reducing gun violence, working with our young people, working on economic development. This is something that's very important to me as a commissioner, as an individual. I love working with our young people. I've been, believe it or not, I spend time coaching kids in my free time. I love to coach kids, whether it's in basketball or baseball, and they stop playing football. So. But anyway, glad to be here. Thanks for your time this morning. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Thank you. I met Reverend Hunter I guess several months ago, stopped by and talked with him, and you guys have a gym in your ministry, so give him a hand as well. Yeah. And knowing that he has some very big shoes to fill, okay, with Reverend Maine, because, again, work with him a lot as well, and the quality of your community program has been underscored earlier today by both the candidate for mayor as well as, I call him sometimes Reverend Moreland, so he's Deacon Moreland, but because he's always involved, has been for a long time. And I've worked with, again, Reverend Baines over the years as both the president of the teacher union, when I did that function, the government relations person for Dayton Public Schools, as well as when I was president of the school board with Dayton Public Schools as well. My children were raised in this community, I was raised in this community, and I know what it can be, I know what it's supposed to be. And you're moving in the right direction to make those kind of things happen. If we can get what you're doing here to be more contagious throughout the city, then we'd be in real good shape as far as the dreams and aspirations that I think we should have for our children. For many years, many of you people know me because I've worked with your children. I don't see any of my former students in here, but I've also been a teacher for a long time and a coach, except for Joey, of course. Sometimes I forget, and I'm like his mentee right now, moving towards the city commission. I forget that I was his mentor years ago, both with the Botillion that I've been doing for 37 years, and this coming year will be my 38th year of working with young men throughout the whole region, with all the high schools. The thing that's really important to me in this community, as I mentioned earlier, is the fact that I know what Dayton has been. I grew up living in basements around this city, on Mercer Avenue, attics, in people's in the city, on Home Avenue, Adelaide Avenue. My parents were not rich in any way, shape, or form. But the community was rich in terms of the kinds of opportunities that it gave us, and gave us hope. There was recreation for children everywhere. Mallory Pool, Burkham Park, you can name it. Little League Baseball all over the place. So there were activities for our children that I'm so jealous of when I ride down to Far Hills, and as a state board member now, I see schools in communities all over the place, 50 school districts that I work with, where there's every kind of opportunity for children and adults that they can have something to do in terms of their leisure time, their exercise time, and all the kind of things that they want to do to create some vision and hope for the young people. So I'm going to stop right now because I know this is for the mayors, and I don't want to take any thunder away from them, but I think they both did a tremendous job in terms of what they had to say. And I think we need to have quality candidates. And I thank all of you for your time and for your interest in allowing me to say a couple of words. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Esrati, and I've been running in Dayton for 20 years. I don't quit. I don't get elected to something and decide that I'm going to run for something else, and then decide I'm going to run for something else. I finish what I start. What I started with 20 years ago was an idea that when you go down to the city commission and you have a problem, you shouldn't be ignored. You shouldn't be shoved off after 3 minutes or 5 minutes without a response. There should be a level of responsiveness. You come to City Hall with a problem, they get back to you. We don't have that. And we have problems in this city. And I'm going to speak the truth. And I'm here today. This wasn't our event, but I came with my video camera to make sure that everybody stays informed. I put this stuff up on YouTube. Why do I put it up on YouTube? Because if I didn't, it wouldn't be there. My campaign literature doesn't look like other people's. It's long. It's got lots of words on it. I have to tell people, quit hanging on the inside of your bathroom door. I'm going to go visit. You got something to read. It might take more than one visit. But the reality is, our community is behind the times. Very much behind the times. For one thing, we have to stop running on the Friends and Family Plan, which has been running this city for a long time. You all know it. But I'm sorry, I'm a Democrat. I've never felt welcome down at Montgomery County Democratic Party headquarters, ever. The first question they ask, and this is the only Democratic Party in 7 counties I've visited, because I've run for Congress, that endorses in a primary. That's why we have primaries, people. We have primaries to let the people decide, not 40 people in a room with the door locked. But that's how it works. The first question is, if we don't endorse you, will you drop out? How is that a Democratic Party? This is the fundamental first problem. The second is money in politics has ruined our city. And I gotta say, when it takes $260,000 to get 5,000 votes when you're a sitting city commissioner, that's kind of scary, because I can do math, and $50 a vote is insane. You do better off for $20 for everybody to pay them to come vote. You would have had double the votes, and between the 2 mayoral candidates, you would still have 60,000 left over. And I could have bought basketboards and rims and put them up on every court in the city. Because in case you didn't notice, there are now basketball nets throughout the city. Because I said, you gotta be kidding me. If we're gonna spend all this money on yard signs, which are nothing but trash, and we can't put basketball nets up, this isn't a city people want to live in, and that's why they've been leaving. Your parks come first. We got a beautiful park downtown, nobody uses it. But when we go over here, you go to Hillcrest, you go to Hickorydale Park. That's an embarrassment, folks. It's whoever laid the park out in the first place didn't have any clue, because you want to be able to see your kids when they're on the basketball court, not have them wait tucked back there. That court, those basketball courts now have 4 nets. They've got the weeds and glass cleaned up. Same thing over here at Highland View Hills. But you know what? They're so far hidden from someone's line of sight that somebody went out there and they took the chain link fence off the tennis courts. That doesn't happen easily. You can't take a chain link fence down without, having a discreet place to do it. This city says we don't have money to take care of things. Well, I'm sorry. We had $1 million. We just found it instantly. Blow up a building downtown and give it to the developer from out of state. Excuse me. We pay our tax dollars for services to our community. I'm about to get run off here. Because when you speak the truth, the time limit comes up. So read what I gave you. My phone number's on there. If you want pancakes tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at my house till 1 p.m., buttermilk pancakes from scratch, $5, all you can eat, 113 Harvard Street. I'd love to see you there before or after church. And thank you very much.
Now, very quickly, I want to have Ricky Allen come up and talk to you about an event that we're having next week.
Thanks. What we're having next week is our 3rd annual Memorial Walk. See this nice, pretty sign? And the purpose of this walk is to walk with some loved one that is no longer here with you. What we do is we meet at Louise Park. We ask for donations. We have balloons. You put your loved one's name on the balloon. We say a prayer. We let the balloons go in the sake of your loved ones. And then we walk. And that's pretty much it. So what we need for you is to come out. And also, I believe we have donation envelopes here that you can grab on the way out the door. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
What's Monday? Monday? What was the mayor talking about?
What's that? Oh, that's something different from what I'm talking about. This is next Saturday. It's next Saturday. It starts at 1 o'clock. It's only 3 hours. If you can't walk, just come out there and watch us walk.
All right, and finally, surely not least, I want to have the greatest pastor this side of heaven come up.
Real brief. First and foremost, let me thank all of you who have come out this morning to this community breakfast and outing. Appreciate you for coming. Would you do me a favor and give yourselves a hand? To both of our mayoral candidates, Commissioner Nan Whaley and Ms. A.J. Wagner, we thank you for giving up your time this morning to come. To all others who are running for office or already presently in the seat, we thank you as well for giving your time this morning. And to our CDC, thank you so much for your foresight to put this together, to allow the community the opportunity to have an intimate setting with our mayoral candidates so they know who they are to pray for, to who they are to discern what God's hand is moving for our city, so that they can hear from these two candidates as it relates to the future of this great city. I am to announce again what Ms. A.J. Wagner was talking about Monday at, I believe it's 6 o'clock? 9 a.m., pardon me, 9 a.m. The PNC Bank closed in West Town. Those persons will be here, and some other persons from the state of Ohio and others will be here for another meeting and discussion about the closing of PNC and where we go from here as we move forward with that vital asset to our community leaving. So if you're able to come out, we'll be right here in the same location on Monday at 9 o'clock a.m. Look forward to seeing you here as well. I was sitting here listening to everything that was said, and upon my arrival to the city, I always thought, what else could I do besides pastor? Many persons don't know I'm a licensed mortician and embalmer funeral director. Didn't want to do that. I thought about running for mayor. Didn't want to do that. I even thought about taking a commission seat. Didn't want to do that. Really looked at school board. Then thought about that. I said no. But today it finally hit me. What I want to do besides pastoring to help the community. Brother Joey Williams, if you have an application, I want to be your assistant basketball coach. Yeah, I want to be the assistant basketball coach. I leave all the other stuff to you all, and I just stick to preaching. But thank you all again. And I'm going to do this plug. If you don't have anywhere to go tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. or 10:30 a.m., we'll love to see you right here at MMBC, the place you ought to be.
We certainly thank everyone coming on behalf of our president, our pastor, all of you. We just really had a great time
It would be a crime if we did not disseminate the information we heard tonight. Irregardless of how you think and which persuasion you go with, you have to agree that we have very, as I stated earlier, very passionate, able-bodied people that love this city. Whether you agree with it or not, we love this city. And we all have to move forward with involving ourselves, telling others that we have influence over to get involved. Don't wait for Superman to fly in. You have been dubbed the Superman for days. So let's get involved with it educationally, economically, whether it's crime or violence. The work has to continue. And when we get a check mark, we have to be the gatekeepers that ensure that we don't have to revisit the decay that happens in the city as great as Dayton, Ohio. So on behalf of our president and CDC, all of our directors, all of you, our kitchen staff, and Macedonia, we thank you so much. So we're going to pray out, if you don't mind, so if you can stand to your feet. And I'm yielding to my pastor. It's a little weird for me, so I'm sure he's okay with this. So Father in heaven, again, we thank you first of all for being such an awesome God. Father, only you could have orchestrated this intimate setting of your people, deciding how to best serve your people. Father, thank you for everything that has been said. Father, thank you for what's going to be done in the future. Father, you already know ahead who you're going to choose. But Father, whoever you choose and whoever is not chosen, let us stay galvanized as a community to know that the greater good in this community far outweighs our personal problems and our attitudes. Father, help us change as a community so that we can be the true city of God that you called us to be. Now, Father, as we leave this place, we ask that you go with us and may everything in our homes and where we've been be found safe and as it was when we left. It's in the matchless name of Jesus, our risen Savior, we ask it all. Amen. Don't forget the materials. Don't forget